Welcome to dirtyshirt.info. So we have a 2005 Dodge Ram pickup, and we have a recirculation slash blend door problem in this car. So let's talk a little bit about the symptoms, and then we'll go take a look at the shop and kind of head where I'll show you where we're going to head to get this thing straightened out. So the symptom is that the car blows hot air, it blows cold air, it just doesn't have the volume. You can tell that there's a change in temperature, but and you can hear the fan actually ramp up and ramp down based on how you set it, but it won't change its volume as far as usability in the truck. So this is Texas. It gets 100 degrees on a regular basis, and it's blowing cold, but it's just not enough coming out. So let me show you down here what we're going to do. Is kind of we've taken the glove box out, and it doesn't even require tools. It just pops out with a little bit of wiggling around and so forth. And we're going to start to remove all this apparatus here, and you can see there's these screws that they're just everywhere, right? I mean, there's just 100 of them, and we're just going to kind of work our way through, because what we want to do is work our way back into this area. This is where the problem is, and we already know this. There's a fan motor that's located right down here below on the passenger side, and if you take this fan motor out and you reach up inside, you can feel the broken blend door. It's just kind of laying over the fan, so it's definitely blocking it. So we know what the problem is, and we know kind of where we're headed with all this, but you can see the hardware that's going to have to come off so that we can get this plenum replaced that actually contains the door. So that's it for the inside of the vehicle. Now let's go take a look at the part in the shop, and I'll show you what we have. So here are the new parts. Well, let's first take a look at the old part. Okay, so this is the door, and you can see that it's broken off here, and this is a pivot point. The door rocks back and forth. In the part itself, it's actually this piece right here. Okay, and it rocks back and forth, and it has a motor on it, and that's what causes it to actually change as you dial it in on the dashboard. Okay, so this is electrical connection here that will be hooking up and so forth. So that's kind of how that works, and that allows the fan to do its job and push the air through. We also have this new kind of a shroud for the fan. Okay, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to incorporate that, but when we get into it deeper, of course, we'll better understand it. And then these are pivot points, and we'll do some video of where these actually go. They came with the kit here. This is from the dealership, and what we found was that like we went to O'Reilly, and just for the door alone, $69, and they had a really hard time getting this thing, right? Go to the dealership, it was $49, and you get everything. You get the whole works going here. So obviously that's what we did. So that's where we're at in the project. We'll do an update in a minute. Okay, so we've worked ourselves from the passenger side over to the driver's side. And what you find is, when you're getting into this, is that there are a ton of screws, they're everywhere, and everything overlaps, right? So even though our problem is 5 feet over in this direction, we're actually 5 feet in the other direction to try and get it all off. It wasn't really clear to us how the radio control and the environmentals here actually came off. And if you flip this over, these are just clips, right? So if you give it a little bit of muscle, they'll come out of their corresponding holes. And that's actually how we found out how it worked. And then also, of course, there's all these connections, these push connectors that go to the radio and all the controls and so forth in here. So once we got this popped off, man, things just started to happen really, really quickly. So, we're in the process of, getting rid of all those overlapping pieces so that we can get back over here and start to get to, our original problem area. And we're managing our parts too, right? It's always an issue. So far, we've only come across just 2 basic screw types, and we want to put everything back together the way it came apart. So we are managing that as that goes along. So we'll do an update in a second. Okay, so we found kind of a key piece that needs to come off here, and none of it's intuitive. You just kind of got to figure things out. But I did want to show you this. So we removed this track right here, right? And I use this upholstery tool. This thing is awesome. It's got a round shaft, so it doesn't tweak the plastic as you try and pry up. If you take a sharp tool, and it'll always leave these marks, right? So that's one of the great benefits of this. And you stick it in, you kind of pry it up, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5 or 6 clips that need to come up or out in order to get that off. So that was one thing. Then once that happened, is we got this panel right here, and you can see it's got this little hook that goes up underneath, and it's behind this rubber seal, right? So, and it was really, really tight. if you flip it over, these are just clips, right? So all they need is a little bit of help to get them to release. And then once that happened, the whole thing just started to fall apart, which is exactly what we want to do. So now we're starting to get into the area that we, that we're interested in. And these two pieces just had to come apart. So of course we're going to continue to work our way to the left here over toward the driver's side so we can get the room that we need. So key pieces, that's how you do it. And don't forget this little hook goes up, right, rather than out. So you don't really want to break this stuff, and none of this plastic has been damaged with this tool. So thanks. Okay, what this is called is getting your ass handed to you while you are trying to fix this problem. So we've had to kind of go to the default. In the beginning of the video, I was all happy that they'd given us this whole cage. There's just no way we're gonna get this thing out of here. I mean, this thing is in there like you would not believe, okay? So what we've done is, the way this came is that the motor was attached to the side. It has this little, I don't know, spacer, it's kind of like a keyway, and it opens and closes the door, and that's how it works, right? So we've had to remove this and get this apart. So it's important to understand what the orientation was. When we got the new part, the door was closed, right? So we know that when we go to fish this up inside the existing cage in the dash, we're going to orient everything so that the door is closed, that this only goes on one way, so we know where that'll go, and then we're going to put the motor on to the side of it, just like it was oriented on this cage piece, right? So that's how we're going to manage that. But very, very difficult to try and get the old cage out. It's just proven to be way beyond anything we want to do. So thanks. All right, so let's go back to this piece and look at this for a second so we can get a little more in detail, right? So this is the new part that we're not going to use, and what happens is that this insert is actually both in the truck and it was on the new part, and we had to remove it in order to get the door out in both cases. You see, if you've done some research on the web, that they talk about removing a grate, and this is what they're talking about here. And this will get in your way, and what we ended up doing on the car was we removed this piece and basically just pulled them out with our hands. They just snapped clean off, right? And that enabled us to do some work up in here and so forth. This has a stopper here, right? And the way that it goes in is like this. And it prevents the door from swinging freely, and there's actually stoppers on the part as well. Okay, so that has to be oriented correctly, and we spent a good amount of time orienting everything so that it was exactly the way that it came on the new part. So when we got the new part, the door is behind this grate and it was closed. This piece slides in, and it will only go in one way, right? So we know that if the door is closed up against this and this is inserted, we know that it's oriented correctly. Then the new part came with a new motor, okay? And the motor can be oriented any way. So that door, no matter where it is, you can place, it will line up with the motor, right? And we don't know where the motor is. And my instincts tell me that this all has to line up, all right? So we made a lot of provision in order to make sure the door is closed, this went in, and that the motor went directly on and lined up with its bolt holes like it's supposed to, so that all the orientations were all correct based on the new part, right? Getting this off was a bit of a challenge on the new part, and we actually, the kit came with new pieces, so we weren't very concerned about preserving them or anything of that nature, but they don't come out easily. This one was actually on the truck, and it came out. This, you can see it's kind of loose, and this is 7-year-old plastic. This is a 05 car. We're in 012, right? So we pulled this out. We replaced it with the new black piece so that we have new plastic on there. Apparently these have a tendency to break, so that's why we did that. And of course the motor is new on the new part, and we're just going to get rid of the old one, and we put the new one in already. So this is something that we dealt with here. Now we're going to start the reassembly of the whole truck, and we're into it about 4 hours. We started at 8 this morning. It's a little after 12 now, almost 1 o'clock. So, and we did take a break to kind of think and talk this through too, because it's just not an intuitive process about how we're going to do this. So that's where we're at. So we finished the job. What we did about halfway through the reassembly, we were able to get the control panel together with the electrical connections so that we could actually test it, and at the same time we could look up inside and see that the door was actually working full range, right? I mean, it really did a good job. So I think the precautions that we took, I don't know if they helped, but they sure didn't hurt, because it does in fact work. So then it was just a matter of like 1,000 screws being all reassembled, and and we had to go back and disassemble a few pieces here and there where the overlapping wasn't in the right order, and we'd already tightened things down. So given that, I think we're into this for 50 bucks. It took maybe a good part of a day. I think we're at about 8 hours here now. We're just cleaning up. But the job is done, and I think everything is exactly the way we needed it to be. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.